Welcome agents. In today's news video we've got a few things to talk about, like the Special Ammo Exploit, the huge patch notes to drop for Phase 2 of the PTS and more. Now if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe for dedicated Division content. With that said, let's get to it. Okay, so this is a huge problem that I'm surprised the devs have not patched already. This is the Special Ammo Exploit, which is currently breaking the game even more. Now, I've read that this has been a problem since the beta, but it's only really got traction over the last week or so, and I actually found out about this a couple of days ago from Eroctic's video, another great Division content creator. Now, I didn't cover it then because I really did think the devs would have patched this already, or at the very least, acknowledge the issue in Wednesday's State of the Game. So before I go on, it's probably a good idea I tell you what the exploit is and how it works. The way I see it is the more people use it, the sooner the devs will see it and the sooner it will get patched. So the exploit, or bug you might want to call it, is any special ammo loaded into your weapon from the open world can be taken into the dark zone or any activity that doesn't require a loading screen. So it won't work if you join on a squad in the dark zone, but you simply go around the open world, fill up your weapons with shock ammo, incendiary ammo, any type of special ammo, walk into a DZ checkpoint or fast travel, it doesn't matter. And because there's no loading screen, when you walk out of the checkpoint, the game for some reason does not remove the special ammo. Now, it might not be a loading screen issue because I'm sure specialization ammo is removed, but I'm pretty sure this is not intended. Now you have people walking into the dark zone with like 90 bullets of special ammo, killing, the pretty average experience right now, and it's gaining traction. You'd think it ends right there, but actually it gets worse. Again, Eroctic put out a video showing another bug with the ongoing directive gear set and loadout swapping. Now I'm calling this a bug because again, I don't think this is intentional. Now the 6-piece ongoing directive says killing an enemy with a weapon grants some special ammo, incendiary, explosive, shock, to one of your other weapons. Now this 6-piece talent works as intended, but the bug is you swap into 6 pieces of ongoing directive using the same weapons you want to use for your, say, PvP build. Now once your weapons are loaded with any of these special ammos, all you have to do is change loadouts and the special ammo will stay with those weapons as long as you don't swap the weapons. That alone I think is not intentional, or at least shouldn't be, but to even make it worse, the 6-piece ongoing directive talent will be active on your PvP build when you're not even using the gear set, so you can run around with your PvP killing NPCs and get special ammo without actually using the ongoing directive or even being on. Now, it's truly broken, and I think the developers need to kind of wake up to this. The 3 or so videos Eroctic has put out on this as like combined views of like 70,000 plus, and there's Reddit posts talking about it, but we've heard nothing. Now please, if any developers are watching this, which I highly doubt, this needs to be patched right now. Forget about introducing new mods or nerfing NPCs. This needs to be made a priority. Okay, so moving on, and Phase 2 of the PTS dropped today and the full patch notes have come out. There are some really interesting changes here that I think are worth noting, so I wanted to go over these with you guys. Some of these we've heard before, some of these we haven't, so I've not gone for everything, I've picked out what I think is worth talking about for this one. They're not final, of course, but they do give you some indication on what is currently going on, especially for console players who cannot actually be part of the PTS. Now, going in order of how these are listed on the patch notes, let's start off with gear. So to start with, gear will now include better defensive roles. The hardwired gear set now grants skill damage instead of shock duration. Ongoing directive now grants special ammunition to any weapon, including the weapon currently being equipped, and it also grants special ammunition on any kill, not just weapon kills. So if they don't patch this really bad exploit, this change alone is just going to make the whole situation a lot worse. True Patriot, they decreased the debuff cycle from 4 seconds to 2 seconds. And they've increased damage dealt to nearby targets when full flag is active to 50%. I think that personally is a good change because I don't think the damage currently is enough to warrant you using that particular 6-piece. So yeah, that's a good change in my opinion. Now moving on to loot. Loot containers will now reset at a preset time of day. Control point reward containers will now also reset with this daily timer. They've improved the quality and quantity of drone helicopter loot. Slightly reduced the maximum available loot from clan caches. Cabinet loot containers now have a chance to contain dark zone keys, and they've increased ammunition drop chance from enemy NPCs to decrease situations where players would run out of ammunition during prolonged fights and higher difficulty activities. I'd have to say the change to the clan caches about reducing the maximum available loot, I I don't know why they've done that. I didn't think that the clan caches gave that much anyway, really. I like the fact they've improved the quality and quantity of drone helicopter loot. And the ammunition thing was a problem. I'm glad they're addressing that. We'll have to see by how much, because it may still be a problem on like heroic difficulty, for example. Now moving on to missions. The bank headquarters, they've reduced difficulty for solo players, and Roosevelt Island, they've reduced difficulty for solo players as well. I have to agree, Roosevelt Island in some instances can be difficult, certainly at the last stage, because you can't really backpedal, whereas most other missions you can, and I think that's the same for bank headquarters as well. But yeah, we'll have to see how that works out. Now moving on to NPC AI. They've updated the RC Blade to fix various issues. The Elite Medic's pulse grenade has now been changed. It no longer applies disrupt. The impact radius is reduced, and the grenade impact radius should be easier to see. They've decreased damage of veteran, elite, and named NPCs. Enemy NPCs should no longer be able to stagger players with a melee attack if the player has a ballistic shield equipped. Another buff for that ballistic shield. The drone helicopter, they've increased health, increased damage, and increased movement. Again, I think that's a good change. They've decreased Outcast Suicide Vest explosion radius. They've lowered the NPC damage and health above normal difficulty. And they've increased variety of NPCs at higher difficulty levels. Now, they talked about this before. They've basically nerfed NPCs a little bit. Heroic, you're not really going to see much of a difference. Challenges, you will. And hard, it's going to be a lot easier on hard difficulties. But I like the changes they've made to the drone helicopter as well. It's funny, because the drone helicopter, you don't see it that often. But when you do, it's kind of one of those situations where you're like, wow, I want to take this down. But it goes down so quickly. So I'm glad that's... I'm assuming they're talking about the massive drone helicopter that flies around the open world. I could be wrong. If it is that one, it's a great change. If it's not that one, I don't know. So moving on to rewards. XP from bounties have been increased. All settlement weekly projects now reward blueprints. Added a new daily crafting project that awards blueprints and increased the quality of weekly project equipment rewards. I'm glad they're making these changes, especially the XP from bounties, and I really like that they're making other activities more lucrative, because at the moment the Dark Zone, even for PvE, currently is probably the most lucrative place, and there's no real risk at the moment. Obviously, when they make the change to the Dark Zone, there might be, but I'm glad that there's going to be other places, for at least for PvE players to go, and not complain about being destroyed in the Dark Zone. Anyway, that's another one. Moving on, we got skills. The Assault Drone for PvE. The drone will now more actively look for a new target once it loses its current target. The Defender Drone will now drain more quickly once a shot has been deflected. The Reinforcer Chem Launcher. Reinforcer gas clouds do not stack anymore. That's a huge change. The Reviver Hive fix further occurrences of players not being revived, and the revive time is slightly increased. I think that's good. The Riot Foam Chem Launcher increased base duration of Riot Foam when used against an NPC, and the Scanner Pulse reduced cooldown from 120 seconds to 90 seconds. And then we've got vendors. Vendors will now verify the player's highest achieved world tier and offer items of that gear score, instead of offering items of the highest world tier available in the group. You think we'd finish there, but we're not. We've got quite a bit more to go here, guys. The weapons, the SOCOM MK20 SSR now has a skin slot from Specialized Quality and up. The Chatterbox, the damage is increased. Sweet Dreams, or the Lullaby, damage increased. Merciless or Ruthless, damage increased. Pestilence, damage increased. Liberty, damage increased. And the TAC 50 now has 2 zoom states. What those are, we don't know, but again, anything they can really do to make the TAC 50 more viable is going to be good, because at the moment, the Nemesis Sniper, which, by the way, guys, will be nerfed. Unfortunately, that's not confirmed, but it will be nerfed, because at the moment it kind of makes the TAC 50 irrelevant. And just with this change alone, they're not trying to increase the TAC 50 damage. I think they're just going to nerf the Nemesis, but we'll wait and see about that. Now, moving on to conflict in the Dark Zone. A lot of this stuff you'll probably already know, but I wanted to go over it anyway, just to see what sort of changes we're looking at. So the armor boost, the boost provided has been reduced by 50%. The armor value on nameplates, improved visuals to better reflect how much armor an enemy has. Now, in respect to balance, all players are now scaled to max world tier gear score. Primary stats are set to high-end values. Normalized talent overrides are applied. Budget distribution of unnormalized items is preserved. No additional bonus is applied. Unlocked mods and talents from unnormalized builds are active. Items above gear score 500 will be scaled to 500. No bonus stats will be applied to these items, and recalibration bonuses are not applied. PvP specific overrides, weapon and skill global damage modifiers, targeted weapon and skill damage modifiers, Assault rifles now have a 1.25 PvP damage scaler applied. I think that's a good change because assault rifles are kind of falling behind in PvP, and it's kind of the LMG or the vector drone flipping ballistic shield meta, which I don't know what they're doing about that. We got skill behavior overrides, damage boost provided reduced by 50%. Again, another good change. I think those boosts were just too much. The conflict NPC was moved to a more prominent spot next to the helipad outside of the base of operations. I don't even know who this conflict NPC is, so this will be the first time I'm seeing this person. Now respawning players are now much more likely to respawn with their teammates. That's a good change. And skill cooldowns no longer reset when a player is killed. Again, another great change. Now moving on to PvP, it says the damage modifier reduced to increase time to kill, and the skill modifier increased to let skills have more impact in PvP. Moving on to the Dark Zone. Now, contaminated loot. Boss is now guaranteed a contaminated loot drop. Higher challenge landmarks can drop multiple contaminated items. Basic, veteran, and elite NPCs have their drop rate lowered, but now have a very high chance to drop contaminated loot. The Dark Zone bag size has been increased to 6. The Tier 1 perk will give your bag size up to 8. The Tier 4 perk, Bounce Back, now reduces Dark Zone XP lost on death. And the Tier 10 perk increases the bag size to 10. The more bag size, the better, I think, with this sort of thing. Now, Dark Zone brackets, they've reduced the brackets to level 1 to 30 and then any players in world tiers. So that should hopefully increase the amount of people that are actually in each server, because that was one of the issues before. There were so many brackets that they just simply weren't filling the servers. So this should hopefully fix that problem. Now, NPC AI in the Dark Zone, they've reduced the damage output, increased the time to kill. Landmarks, they've added a short cooldown to landmarks. I think they said it was around 1 minute or so. The Rogue, they've removed the cooldown, and there is still a 5-second toggle cooldown. Thieves' Den now allow players to switch weapons. In the Occupied Dark Zone, there will be damage modifiers. They've added a separate PvP damage modifier, which I believe they said was going to be the same, or at least they're testing it to be the same as Conflict. So I think it's gone down from 70 to 40%, I believe. And then with XP, they've reduced the DZ experience loss to 35% of the XP in your current Dark Zone rank when being killed. Now, I did say I had more for this video, but to be honest, guys, this video is going on very, very long. So what I might do is just leave it there. So we've obviously got the exploit, we've got the huge patch notes. I want you guys to let me know what you think of the patch notes so far, what you think of the exploit. I'd highly recommend that you share this video with the devs, because clearly they're not doing anything about this exploit, at least at this moment in time. And the change being made to ongoing directive at this present time is only going to make the problem worse. But anyway, guys, thanks for all your support, and of course, until the next one, guys, Epic out.